Hey guys, I am here with Nash and we're going to go over his top 16 Ivankov list from the Melbourne Regionals, which we had, I think it was about a week ago. So we've got getting to this a bit late, but we will make sure we get out for you guys nonetheless. So first of all, congratulations Nash, you've done extremely well. This is your second top 16 in two events, the other one you came second in for the Treasures Cup. So why don't you walk us through your amazing list?
Thanks, Max, and thanks for having me back. Sorry, schedules have been the way for us to get back to it, but nonetheless, this is my top blue deck of the regionals. So I switched over and was asking if I was playing Kaido, but I couldn't do it, even though congratulations to David Lamb, who did beat me in one round. This is Ivankov, who I've been having a lot of fun with. So to start things out, Ivankov, the core package, as everyone probably knows, is very standard. You can't leave home without her namesake in there, of course. The L's Ivankov down there, you have to have four of, and her partner in crime, the Monkey D. Luffy. The other cards in there you gotta love, which is just the Inazumas, the Mr. 3, and the Mr. 2. Now, they all package just the core function deck. You don't generally play too much of them. A lot of the Mr. 2 especially is 2k counter, and otherwise just the on-suite of blockers. The other one you'll probably run out quite a lot of is Croc. He's a great turn 5 curve, and he also, when you can't find the Luffy, also is a nice sweetener with Ivankov. I've also found on the second Ivankov, if you can drop a turn or two later as well, when you find your second one, Croc's also another good play there as well. So just another sort of ensuite to the monkey. The other one you're sort of looking at there, your standard 2k counters, which are your Mihawks, which, don't get me wrong, never hurt to play. They're always pretty good in there as well. And the Alvida. I did play one game, but yeah, standard 2k counter all the way. The other one you'll be kind of in Don Flamingo, the 3 drop, the 4k blocker, which can't be eaten by all those vistas and everything running around these days, so he's very handy. Generally, I have to double team him. What else you got in there? The buggy, of course, the standard one there, which is always great for the searcher. The other two little cards there, which you see a lot of, the new Karmaland. I'm only running the 2, which is a bit different. Some people run maybe 4, some people run none. It's a very different how much you want to play in there. Personally, I find the new Karmaland is one you want to see early, but you don't care if you don't. In your sort of opening hand, if you see a new Karmaland instead of a buggy, and you've got the Don Flamingo there, you can sort of run with that hand, and it's still a really good play out. Don't be too aggressive on the mull, because you can really draw into some really dead hands with this one. The other time is it's sort of late game, it sort of doesn't hurt to have later on there as a bit more of a filter to find a bit more of a deep dive into those, but also you can just trash it to Monkey's ability as well, which never hurts. The other one I've been running a bit, and I had a lot of playtesting around, was Brickfist. I was running the old Gum Gum Rain for a while there, the 0 drop, just because I love drawing in that hand when you draw up with Ivankov. So basically, if you drew that with one of your monkeys or something, you always had counter in your hand. You can never draw into 2 dead cards. But the Brickfist, with so much white beard going around, the Brickfist was just essential. You just always had a target. They could never play around quite as well. Triggering it was also very good. Very rare to happen though, but it was a central soul there. The other card, and this is what you don't see in a lot of decks, is the Boa. The Hancock is just one who, now, I suppose it's just the one you see when you force them that curve play. When you can't get first, you have to go into second, so you're playing against Rush. It's a great 4 drop. It slows down that. You can get back into that Rush, slows the opponents down because sometimes they either have to deal with it. It may force a jet pistol out of hand or some other way, but if not, you can sort of attack back into the characters, draw back up your cards. A way more effective counter than I've tried. I was running the other Boa Hancock, the starter set one, which was the 3 cost 1k for a while, just to trigger out a life, and it was 1k counter as well. Just unfortunately, if you didn't trigger out a life, it was kind of a useless card in the deck, and I found this was a bit more effective. The one question I sort of did get asked a lot with this deck is, where are the Peronas? I played Perona as a 3-0 for a while, but I just found out if you have Buggy, then Perona, you're just filling the board with those useless characters, end up trashing them when you play the Ivankovs anyway. And I just found I was going for more counter and more other cards that were probably more useful. So I suppose I was playing against a lot of Whitebeard, and they're just willing doing anything there. And if I ever came up against black, they were just using it to smoker footage. It was just real horrible to get around. And I just didn't think you needed the extra search to find that out there. I suppose the one card I didn't mention, but it's obviously very stable in the deck, is the Mihawk, the 9-drop. You can't underestimate it enough from going the perfect play on, turn 1, you play the Buggy, turn 2, so 3 Don, you play the Don Flamingo, you go to 5 Don, you play a Croc, 7 Don, you play the Ivankov into the Monkey, and 9 Don, you drop the Mihawk. And look, that's such a sweet curve if your deck lines up like that. Such a perfect curve, and a lot of decks have struggled to deal with it. Obviously not one type in the deck, that's why it was, top 10, top 16, not, top 8, but oh well, they're the stories of breaks. But that's the deck in a nutshell. I suppose my word of advice to play the deck, play aggressive. Like, I played this very aggressive. I was countering a lot. Protect your life early so it's there for later on. So when you bottom your deck cards start drawing again, you redraw up your life to get that cards back into motion. The only real reason you're taking life early with this deck, I find, is if you haven't found your pieces early. If you haven't found your Ivankov, then you probably do need to take life. Maybe it's sitting there. But I like to protect life early. That way, say, you can just draw out of Ivankov's ability. And once they start attacking your life, you can just draw back into some extra hands, and you can find yourself in a pretty comfortable position when you're on about, 3 life, 4 cards in hand because they've attacked you twice. And yeah, you've got a pretty strong board in play by that stage as well. And most decks have a lot of time to have hard to deal with it. So yeah, thanks, Max. That's the deck in a nutshell.
Yeah, that was an amazing explanation. I know it's been a week, but is there any notable matchups that you had throughout the weekend?
Yeah, look, my round 1, and this is where it was a very interesting start today. I played David Lamb, who actually made 9th with his Kaido deck. He was my round 1 opponent. A lot of people ask me the questions like, why didn't you bring your top 2 playmat to the regionals? Intimidate people. And I've gone, yeah, I didn't really want people knowing I made top 2 because I thought, I'm going to surprise them with this Ivankov deck. People are going to be going, what? This guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's bringing Ivankov, for crying out loud. And Dave just goes, oh, you remember me? Yeah, you were playing top 8 to get a treasure cup. Oh, gosh, shit, that plan that plan was useless. Yeah, and look, that Kaido matchup was really strong in his way. It came down to a very clutch decision where basically I sort of went for it and gone, right, I've got enough blockers on board. If he's got another 6-drop king, I'm going to lose, but he's already played 2 this game, so if it's got a 3rd, so be it. But it's like, went for it, set myself up, and lo and behold, he had another 6-drop king. So the game went pretty much back and forth, and it was sort of like you can't bounce much with Monkey's ability in that one, so that's where sort of the Croc came in a bit more useful, because as you know, purple deals with the 4 drops with the kings, can't really deal with 5 drops, was always a bit of a sweetener.
Yep.
Against the Kaido. Sort of moving on that, what surprised me about the day is I actually took on 2 Kinemons and 1, which I thought was going to be a pretty hard matchup for me. But as I say, the way my deck sort of steamrolled that game was just 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and it was just like, all right, well, that's how she rolls. That was, and it's worked consistent like that quite well for a lot of games. It will be one of those Kinemon matches they didn't find their Odin, which was, probably my namesake. They didn't find that, but here they busted out like 4 Yamatos, the 4-drop ones, and it's like, oh wow, they're playing a lot of those. And it's like, everything was rested. So
yeah, well, it's definitely an interesting matchup, and Ivankov's a really good pick into the format. And I was wondering, was this one of the reasons you picked it? So many decks want to go second, but Ivankov really, really wants to go first. So was it kind of one of those decks where last set some people picked Law because they wanted to go second, everyone else wanted to go first? Was it you wanted to pick Ivankov because you wanted to go first when everyone else wanted to go second?
Yeah, I found that when I was sort of playing a bit more locals with it, and sort of like, I was like, we're sitting there, okay, roll off, who's going first? Like, why are we rolling?
Yeah.
Like, I felt like, the first time I actually played this deck was at a local store up in called Legends Collectibles, and I literally sat down first time I played the deck, and I think out of the 14 players there, I was the one person playing Ivankov, and I reckon 10 of them were playing Whitebeard.
Gosh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, it was so shocking. And then I went that day after 4 rounds undefeated. We played a best of 3, and I didn't even lose a game. And I just thought, this actually stokes up pretty well. Yeah. So that was sort of my decision, sort of like, that was a few weeks out from probably regionals, and I just thought, against Whitebeard, where I was expecting a lot of Whitebeard to be at regionals, which, to be fair, I think I was partially right. I didn't expect as much Zoro. But yeah, when I looked at this and Sarah went to Whitebeard, it's just such a good matchup into Whitebeard with Brickfist, the Monkey, and as you say, always wanting to go first. And my first turn, the way it works on curve, is just better than Whitebeard's on curve.
Yeah.
To be honest, the
Yeah.
way Whitebeard ends up beating me is the fact they don't play their 4 drops; they just end up playing 3 monkeys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Because they can't deal with 5 drops or rush.
Yeah.
So,
No, definitely. Yeah. Well, this has been extremely helpful. One last question I have for you, Nash. If a new player wants to pick up Ivankov, what are the tricky matchups to watch out for, and what are, I guess, the best matchups or the ones that you really want to see as an Ivankov player?
yeah, look, the worst matchup, and that's how to say it, is probably, look, I lost to Rush in the end, but they really have to go full face Rush. They can't be mucking around clearing your board or anything like that. So if you want to try and bait them out if they're playing the rush, like that's why you got the Boa there. And they look at that card and go, oh yeah, I can go face. But Boa sort of comes in there and just goes, oh no, I have to take a bit of face. As soon as they take the foot off the gas, it gets your way back into there and you can start doing your thing. You just got to stay alive until you can really control your board with your Ivankov and your Luffy and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I say it is a hard matchup. Look, one of those matchups, if you see a lot of smoker around your meta, hell, Ivankov has a lot of fun because they cannot clear your board fast enough. You are dropping dudes left, right, and center, and they just sit there and go, too many of them?
Yeah. No fair. Yeah.
So, yeah, if you see smoker, you just be sitting there going, yep, keep up, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really fun. I never thought of the smoker matchup. But thank you very much for coming to do this. I'm sure everyone will be really happy to see this amazing in-depth profile from you. Was there any last-minute shout-outs you want to give?
Just thanks to you again, Max, for having me on again. It's been great, and good luck to you at Regionals in Brizzy, mate.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming back, and hopefully we'll have you after the online Treasure Cup. After you top, of course.
Likely I'll be playing, but yep.
Oh, okay. The next
webcam guy.
No, that's fair. Next in-person event, we'll hopefully have you back. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll catch everyone later. See ya.